This video is brought to you by Chief Beef. If it isn't beef, well, it could still be Chief Beef, because we sell soy burgers. How's it going, everyone? Bo here from BZ Hub, playing Planet Zoo Beta again. It's such a fun game, and you know, it has bugs. Everyone is talking about the bugs, and that's expected. It's a beta. But I will say there are a few times that I've been playing where I have had to kind of basically restart. I mean, it's basically been game ending. One was, of course, being the food troughs and whatnot. The zookeepers wouldn't feed the animals, and so you delete the enrichment items hoping they'd feed them. And you know, sometimes they'd come over and, like, you know, give you give you a little pile of food on the ground, and that would be gone in like a few seconds, and then you'd be waiting again, and you know, all the while you're just going poorer and poorer, and then before you know it, your game's over. So this is really the start of a new game here. I've been starting a new game, and it's had its own challenges involved in that, but it's still a fun game to play, and so I was willing to restart and just do the whole thing over again, because I've been having a great time playing this game, and I cannot wait to play it when it's all out and ready and out of its beta. So let's just see what we're doing here. I'm basically creating kind of a food court here. I will say that throughout the entire playthrough of this zoo, while I was able to do it, not many people use that food court. I don't know if it was too out of the way, away from the habitats and stuff. I kind of thought that it would just kind of be in this central area. I really wanted to have this really organic form coming out from the opening of the zoo, where it kind of came out and then just kind of split in multiple directions, and I really wanted to take up these random spaces by putting in a bunch of mulch and putting in plants. But I think I did wait to put in a lot of the plants till later, but still wanted to get down this mulch, because later on you will see that this area is really just very I don't know, elaborate is the word, but there's so many plants, and it just looks very welcoming. Like you really are just being transported into a new world. And so that's really what I was going for, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I'm not a big Planet Coaster guy, so I really didn't have a lot of experience coming into this game. I was really learning a lot of things brand new. And so you might see me making a lot of mistakes in here, things that maybe an experienced player might not do, such as using a ton of this mulch. I mean, it was just eating up money, and I'm not sure why when I zoom out it kind of shines through the ground and whatnot. I must not have placed it down well enough, but something was going on here. You can see now that I'm actually starting this grizzly bear exhibit. I was checking the trade every once in a while, wondering what I should do, basically. And so I kind of thought maybe I would just kind of throw down this exhibit. I loved how it was kind of this round exhibit that people could walk around the entire thing and also kind of direct them to the food court at the same time. I like the round exhibits. I remember playing the original Zoo Tycoons, and I always had very box-like squares and rectangle exhibits, and that was really something that, looking at it now, I really wish I would have done more, round things. And so with this organic pathway, doing it the way I had, a round exhibit was just something I was really excited about. You can see I'm putting in trees here now into the mulch areas. These were just trees that were in the game to begin with this kind of being this Asia, Africa kind of feeling. I thought they kind of fit the environment really well, and you'll see me use more plants from this specific environment for those mulched areas as well, just because, you got to take advantage of where your zoo is. And I know we only were given one area for our franchise to begin with in this beta, but as time goes on and we're able to make more zoos in different areas around the world, it'll be really cool to see the contrast between each zoo and where it came from. So this being Asia, kind of Africa kind of feeling, with this savanna-esque kind of biome, I suppose. You really got to take advantage of that, because when you move into a temperate taiga, you know, you're not going to have the same plants and trees and stuff just naturally occurring as they do like in this map. So you can see I kind of wanted my staff buildings to be centrally located. It was something where in my previous game I had put my staff buildings right next to the entrance so that they didn't really mess with people as they came through. But I did realize that, you know, things like your water treatment plant and electricity all, of course, have a radius, and if you put it next to your entrance of your zoo, you're really not taking advantage of that radius. So although, you know, your guests are negatively affected by radiuses from these types of buildings, if you can put them in a location where the radius isn't going to affect your guests coming through, I mean, you're really just taking advantage of the whole situation. You can see I tried to do some sort of building here to kind of break up, so people came in and they didn't see an entrance to a habitat really close there, and I thought about putting it elsewhere, but I couldn't picture it because I wanted it to be easily accessible from a zookeeper coming from my centrally located staff buildings. So you will see over time, I actually put the water treatment plant too close to the pathway, which will eventually go next to my Galapagos tortoise exhibit. And you can see I'm going through because I'm trying to figure out how to make this door work, and even when I put a brick one in there, it wasn't really looking like it fit, so I just kind of skipped out on that, and I left it as an open building for a really long time. Eventually I do unlock the Indian theme, and I finish up that building so that it does kind of fit in with the aesthetic and everything, but for now it's just gonna be an unfinished opening for now. I did figure that, you know, as you upgrade your staff buildings, you will unlock larger staff buildings, and so the trade center being something that doesn't really unlock anything better than what it is, I thought I would do a custom build. I could have done, you know, some of the other buildings like this as well, but for now I just thought the trade building was something, and I kind of wanted to mess with the signs and everything like that kind of building. I did get a little more adventurous with my construction in this playthrough than I had in previous playthroughs, and that was something I got really excited about. Whenever this game is one of those games where you have to kind of, you know, pause the game and say, okay, this building is important to me and I want it to look really nice, and so I'm going to go through all of these customization options and see what I can do to this building because I want it to look as nice as I possibly can. So you can see I'm putting trim on it, and at some point I just go, okay, this is pretty good. I don't want to put gutters and stuff. I have a sign, I have trim along the bottom. It's looking like a pretty decent building. I did mess up here. I put a bunch of light posts in the same editing group as that building, so later on when I wanted to delete that building, I ended up deleting all of my light posts as well, but as you'll see throughout these videos, it didn't really matter much anyway, so that's quite alright. You can see I did turn on the Indian theme there, trying to research that so I can finish it. I did see that they had grizzly bears there, and I thought, oh my gosh, that would be such a cool thing to have right as you walk in the zoo, grizzly bears. I know one of the cool things about the Kansas City Zoo here in Kansas is that, you know, you walk straight into the zoo and right there is the polar bear habitat, and to have those giant bears there is something that's really just kind of you're just awestruck. You're just like, wow, that is a giant bear. So thinking about these grizzly bears, thinking about, you know, liking the water and stuff, I really wanted to do something with water, and this was something I kind of took up from a video I watched of Geekism. If you haven't watched Geekism, then go ahead and check out that channel. There are some great content creators for Planet Zoo. I'm really excited about. I'm gonna mess up their names here, but Rudy something camel. He has a camel for a logo, and then Delay Designer is great as well. Great videos on YouTube if you want to check them out. If you want to get excited for Planet Zoo and get some great ideas for stuff in your zoo, go ahead and check those out. You can see here I am trying to make some hard, oh gosh, what's the word? Have a nice covered bedding area here. It's one of the things that a lot of animals require to have a hard shelter, and so I thought, you know, with a bear, you know, I'm going to try to take advantage of having something that would really look cool with a cave. And then, as of course, when I started thinking about having a cave, I thought, oh wow, I could make this really cool and have a area that comes down into the cave for our guests who can you know, check out everything. Now, this is my first time really attempting anything of this kind of variety of builds, so I am just kind of riffing on it. I go in and I sculpt up some things. I try to make the cave larger, and then I eventually start wondering how to connect the guest path to this cave so that they can view inside of it. I did want the opening to be easy to get to for our bears, so I did smooth that out a while. And then I just kind of started carving away at this ground here to make a nice spot for the path. This was kind of just the quickest way I could think of to clear a good spot for the path. But I did dig down too far, and so you'll see that I eventually go back to the cave and start digging through there to meet up, because I didn't have the level correct, the ground level of where I was going to put the path, and then the cave's level as well. So I eventually fixed that. You can see me fiddling with the fence here because it was kind of messing with my digging. And there you can see how now it's starting to connect there. I'm cutting away stuff. So now I can use the foundation tool to kind of reconnect that. Now I will say this is one thing I will say is kind of, it's not exactly a bug, but it is a slight annoyance. Whenever you use the tool on ground, it will kind of default to a long grass state. Now, a lot of your animals hate the long grass. And so you can see when I was doing this here, and I was adding foundation and whatnot, what it was doing was actually covering up the ground underneath, making kind of small caves underground, and all of those ground areas had long grass. And so you're like sitting there and your animals are very upset because there's a lot of long grass, and you're just like, why are you so upset? I don't see any long grass. I have replaced all of the long grass in the entire habitat with something else, and yet you are still upset with there being long grass. And it's because I buried it a long time ago, and I just, you know, by the time you've constructed all this stuff, you really don't want to delete it, so that way you can fix some long grass. So my grizzly bears just kind of dealt with having long grass in their habitat for a long time. My air conditioner just kicked on. I hope it's not a I hope you don't hear it in the background. You can see I have this kind of a cave look here. It kind of reminded me of like Batman's cave, kind of looking through. I did want to have a little bit of a gap there so that it wasn't just a giant window, and I really liked how organic that looked with the glass kind of flowing through the cave. Kind of like you're having a column or something in a cave meet up, and then the glass was built to kind of meet up with that edge. I thought that was really cool. I'm raising the fence now because I am wondering if the bears are going to be able to climb up that mountain there, or not mountain, but a hill, and then kind of make their way over the fence. I was worried about that, especially being a bear. Don't want our guests to get in trouble there. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try my hand at a waterfall. Once again, I've never played Planet Coaster and stuff, so I really don't have a lot of experience with things like this. But I thought, you know what, it's worth a shot. I'm gonna try my hand at making a waterfall. And I have to say, if you're new to a game like this, just like me, taking advantage of these kind of things, even if it doesn't look amazing to begin with, is something you really have to take a crack at. Because I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was looking at it. There's a top, there's a mid-level, and then there's a bottom, and I was trying to figure out how to make them all work. And I will say that I don't think I really got them. Another small annoyance is that you can see how, you can see how the bottom of the waterfall looks amazing, but the waves coming out the right side cross into the cave. So I eventually had to place rocks there to kind of make it look like there wasn't these seismic waves kind of pouring into the cave. That was one way I was able to cover them up. I think in the final game it would be really nice to have smaller waterfalls, because you don't have a lot of room in these exhibits, and so you need to kind of make do with the room you have, and to have a ginormous waterfall in there really isn't feasible. And so to have a smaller bottom waterfall would be really nice, so that you don't have those seismic waves cutting into your cave. You can see I'm changing the terrain now. I do have a grizzly bear finally in there. That is my grizzly bear Yardley. I can't even see it from here. I eventually get 2 grizzly bears, and they never did breed. It was very upset. I really wanted to have these little grizzly bear cubs roaming about in the exhibit, but it never did happen. You can see I did change the hill to be more of like a rocky system, like it, you know, these rocks really just came up, seismic plate action, just coming up through the water, the ground, I guess. And you know, and then we have this kind of cave made out, and maybe that was caused by the erosion of that waterfall there that was there at one point, and now it's kind of just changed to this small little you know, little arm there of water. You can see my grizzly bear was really not very keen about how warm it was in there, especially with this Indian kind of African environment. So I kind of got rid of that, put in these coolers there to keep our bear nice and cool, and then started putting in nice trees and everything like that. There was a lot of different plants to choose from when it came to the grizzly bears and the timberwolves. Later on, there's tons, and you can see how I did cover up our coolers. It does kind of look like a weird steam feature kind of thing. It's not amazing, but I wish maybe in the future you can kind of change oh gosh, just kind of the steam effect of the coolers coming out. Maybe that's just something that we're gonna have to deal with, because there just really isn't anything we can do about, you know, the environment being really hot, and then this is a cooler trying to change it. You know, that may just be the way it is. I never did use a warming, because it was so warm here, so there was never a heater used, but these coolers were used on the Timberwolf and the grizzly bear. You can see I am placing down more trees, and then another small annoyance was these trees that you can't really get rid of. They're closer to the entrance, and they cannot be edited, and so they do overlap into your exhibits, and you can't change them at the moment. I'm sure by the official release that might be something that's changed, but you know, at the time of playing the beta, that was something that really bothered some of my animals. You can see I am moving in this whole cave region kind of thing to cover up the path, because I wanted it to be, you know, like the guests are going down into the cave as well. That was really something I liked. And then this was just kind of a happy accident to have this kind of a, oh gosh, I don't remember if they're stalagmites or stalactites. The one that came down from the ceiling, though, happy accident. It kind of looked like it was a cave or something like that. It was really cool. It would be really cool to have more nature-y type. In your nature tab, you have lots of trees and vines and stuff like that. It would be cool to also have stalagmites and stalactites that you can put into your caves, as well as other things like that. That would be really neat. And like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with Planet Coaster, but I'm sure maybe something like that was available in Planet Coaster, so I wouldn't really worry about it not being a part of Planet Zoo at any point. But I am putting up more of the you know, necessary things here to kind of tell people what's inside the habitat there. Education, audio kind of blocks. I did put the screen upside down, but everyone seems to be loving our grizzly bear. But I will say that one thing that really kind of bothered me is that I put so much effort into putting up that cave and pathway for people to go down there and view the bear when it's sleeping. And people would kind of slowly make their way down there to view it when it was sleeping in the cave, and they would just immediately come back up. And you can even see right there, like they're just stopping before they even go down the path. You almost need to make the path going down to the cave accessible first before like wrapping around the entire habitat, because by the time people walk around the entire habitat and then they go even further into a cave, it's almost too much walking and they wouldn't actually go that far. But it was really cool to finally have this whole cave here, and then to actually see, you know, your grizzly bear sleeping in it. It's really cool to see these amazing, I mean, they just modeled these animals so amazing, and so to see them interacting with everything you've done was really, really cool. You can see I finally did get a food enrichment, and I'm just snapping pictures here. So if you see the menu pop up for me hitting escape, that's me taking screenshots, and then Steam brings up the menu. My vet's just going crazy, and I'm trying to get the Indian theme, you know, completed so I can finish the little building going in. So I actually did get some people coming down here. That's nice. Like I said, they did go down there and then they would immediately go back up. It was really frustrating. I just wanted them to have like a picnic down there. I wanted them to really, you know, show some appreciation of me putting in so much work to make this whole cave there. But they would just kind of go down there and then they'd leave. And that was it. You know, I did mix in some of these tiger rocks into this Indian scenery. That was another thing. I remember going back to Zoo Tycoon. You know, you could change the entire environments that way. You know, if you had, you know, gosh, a zoo in the savannah or in Africa or something like that, like you could just change the ground so that it was snowy and that was it. And you could change the ground so that it was, you know, I don't know, boreal forest and not actually in Africa. And that just, you know, that's not very realistic. But in here, you really have to take advantage of what you're given. And so the light grass and the long grass and, you know, the rocks and the dirt and everything, that is all based on the environment. We are in this kind of Asian, Indian, African environment, so you know your rocks are kind of a dirty brown. They're not going to be, you know, the taiga gray color, something, you know, we would see more into the mountains of like Colorado and stuff like that. Not on the eastern side, not the side that's closest to Kansas where it's just all dirt and dry and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of how that was. You can see I'm making work zones for my different staff workers. This is something I didn't do in my first playthrough, and so this time I really wanted to take advantage of that, make sure that this zoo ran as well as it could, just efficiency out the yahoo, because I was really wanting this zoo to go really far. You can see I am decorating now, just kind of these areas outside, and I like this yellow tree. I was like, ooh, some contrast with the green tree. That's really nice. And then I eventually found out that the bear hated those yellow trees, so I had to take them out of the whole thing. But I thought it was really nice for a time. Yeah. That's basically it. I'm putting in some more water here. I did finally realize that this was the wrong food trough here. This one is more for fruits, for your mandrill and you know, lemurs and stuff like that. So I eventually do take out that wooden trough and put in a metal one. Here I am looking for my male grizzly bear Pendle. I finally get him and throw him in there. And then later on I do replace him with another bear. Pendle was a little old at the time. He was 24. I think he'd lived to be like 34 or something like that, I think. And then I eventually got another bear in there. I wasn't extremely impressed with the size. I don't remember exactly what Pendle measured at, but he, you know, say it was 54.4, you know, something or other. Well, I eventually got another bear which had a size genetic which was bigger than Pendle's. I don't remember what Pendle's was, 30% or something like that. You'll see in the video. I already showed it, I think. And then this bear's was bigger than that in his genetics, but they were the same size, and I was like, what? I was really excited to see a bear that was bigger than Pendle, because Pendle's, you know, he looks giant compared to the female grizzly bear over there, and he's got scars all over his face. You can tell that when he was in his last habitat, you know, he must have gotten into some fights, because, well, being a male bear, you get into fights evidently. Oh my gosh, so fun though. This was just a great build. I love bears. Grizzly bears are one of my favorite animals. And I was super excited to build this kind of really extravagant habitat for them, and I'm really excited with how it turned out with the cave and the waterfall and the path going down to the cave. There's Pendle having a good time, me snapping away screenshots. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this build and everything. Like and subscribe. As soon as this game comes out officially, I'll be making more build tutorials and putting more on the Steam page for you to take. But till then, take care.